A classified file buried inside an abandoned Central African Research Institute. A 2019 expedition team that went in and never fully came back. And leaked footage, right now, circulating on encrypted servers, showing something moving beneath the deepest river on Earth. Whatever is living in the Congo has never been asleep. It has been waiting. Join us and let's discover what's hidden beneath the Congo. Let's go.
Number 13. Project Nyx Water. It started with a file no one was supposed to find. For years, a top-secret dossier known as Project Nyx Water sat buried inside an abandoned research institute in the heart of Central Africa. Inside were distorted sonar readings, corrupted field notes, and raw footage pulled from a 2019 Congo expedition team. Some members returned, but not as the same people who went in. Others never returned at all. Officially, the project does not exist. No government has acknowledged it. No institution has claimed ownership of the data. But in late 2023, fragments of that file began surfacing on encrypted platforms, shared in pieces, anonymously, by someone clearly trying to get information out before it disappeared again. The footage showed something moving beneath the surface of the Congo River, in a section of water so deep that sunlight has not reached the bottom in over 2 million years. Intelligence analysts who reviewed the material described what they saw not as an animal, not as a geological event, but as a presence. Something deliberate, something aware. The authorities denied every frame, but the file had already spread. And what it contained didn't just raise questions about the Congo, it raised questions about what governments already know and have chosen to keep sealed. Project Nyx Water may be the most important suppressed document of the 21st century. And the terrifying part is, it was never supposed to leak in the first place. But what exactly was captured on that footage? Because the first piece of evidence that leaked, the very first fragment, came from a survey team that simply vanished. And what their camera recorded before the signal died is something no one has been able to explain.
In late 2023, a piece of footage began circulating on closed encrypted forums with no title, no timestamp, and no source attached. Researchers believe it was extracted from a botanical survey team that went missing near the Lukini River region, a stretch of the Congo Basin so remote that most maps simply label it as unexplored. The video opens with a shaking frame as the camera pushes through dense jungle. Then, suddenly, the forest breaks open into a natural clearing, and standing in the middle of that clearing are 3 figures. At first, a viewer might assume they are local humans, but as the lens slowly zooms in, that assumption collapses entirely. Their body proportions are deeply wrong. Arms almost twice the length of a normal human, hanging down and dragging across the ground like weighted cables. Their fingers are not typical jointed bones. They are complex, multi-segmented structures, continuously bending and flexing, even while the rest of the body stays perfectly still. The skin is pale gray, almost translucent, stretched so tightly over the skeleton that the rib structure is visible shifting beneath. There are no visible eyes, no nose, no mouth, just a seamless surface of skin where a face should be, as if something erased it. But the most disturbing element is not what they look like, it is how they exist in space. Their bodies vibrate at a continuous high frequency, causing them to flicker at the edge of perception, as if they are oscillating between this reality and somewhere just outside it. In the final seconds, all 3 tilt slowly toward the camera simultaneously, not as a threat, more like recognition. Then the screen distorts, and the signal dies completely. The survey team was never found, but whatever those 3 figures were, they were not the only thing out there. Because deep inside the Congo Basin, a tribe of people has been living alongside these forests for thousands of years, and in 2026, scientists discovered something inside their DNA that should not exist anywhere on Earth.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Number 11. Baka Ghost Lineage. For decades, anthropologists studied the Baka people of the Congo Basin as a fascinating but ultimately ordinary hunter-gatherer society. That belief collapsed in 2026 when a genetic study delivered results no one in science was prepared to process. Inside the Baka DNA, researchers found a gene sequence that matches no known human lineage, modern or ancient. It does not belong to Neanderthals, not belong to Denisovans. It belongs to a human ancestor that has never been found, never been named, and never been explained. Scientists call it a ghost lineage, genetic memory from something that walked this earth and left no fossil, no skull, no trace, just code. Invisible, inherited code, still running inside living people today. But the biological expression of that sequence is what truly alarmed the research team. The Baka can perceive infrasound frequencies completely inaudible to the rest of humanity. Think of it like this. Imagine every other human on Earth is deaf to a radio station that has been broadcasting continuously for thousands of years. The Baka are the only ones whose bodies were built with the antenna to receive it. They describe these sounds as the whispers of the forest, constant, present, growing louder the deeper into old-growth jungle they travel. Tribal elders say the forest is not a collection of trees, it is a single unified living entity they call the Great Current. It does not speak in words, it communicates through vibration, biological rhythm, and invisible shifts in the air. Even more disturbing, children sometimes vanish into the forest without a trace, as if absorbed. Acoustic data later confirmed that infrasound patterns do repeat in measurable cycles, forming structures that resemble intentional informational signals. The question is no longer whether the Baka believe this. The question is whether they are the only ones who were ever meant to hear it. And if something has been broadcasting that signal for thousands of years, what exactly is it saying? Because deep beneath the Congo's surface, something has been doing far more than just broadcasting.
Number 10. Cuvette Centrale peatlands. Beneath the Cuvette Centrale region of the Congo lies one of the largest peatland ecosystems ever found on Earth. Scientists call it a global climate shield, storing roughly 30 billion tons of carbon. To understand that number, if you took every car, every plane, every factory, every power plant on Earth, and ran them all simultaneously for 3 full years, that is the amount of carbon locked inside this swamp. It is not a geological feature, it is a planetary pressure valve. But in 2025, a joint scientific mission discovered that what lives beneath that peat is not passive, it is not inert, it is awake. Water samples showed immediate anomalies. The fluid did not follow normal physical laws. It changed viscosity in direct response to human presence, finning when approached slowly, thickening into a dense biological gel when equipment pushed in, like a living body tensing up. When a team attempted to drill sediment core samples, the swamp responded. Mud and water rose around the drilling site, forming physical walls, as if the system was actively sealing it shut. Magnetic sensors then detected a massive metallic structure buried several miles underground. No natural geological process has ever produced a reading like it. But what pushed the entire team into genuine alarm was not the physics, it was the behavior. The swamp was not reacting randomly, it was protecting a specific target. Internal reports abandoned the term natural phenomenon and replaced it with biological defense system. Satellite imaging later revealed that the entire core region had become invisible to orbital observation, wrapped in something that no sensor array could penetrate. Whatever is buried down there has been hiding itself from the sky. The question is not what it is. The question is how long it has been doing this, and whether it knows we finally found it.
Number 9. Billy Forest primates. The Billy Forest in northern Congo was long considered one of the last truly unexplored wildernesses on the planet, a place where documented science had barely reached. In 2024, footage leaked from a private security firm changed that entirely. The video comes from a fixed surveillance camera near an abandoned research station at the forest edge. In the frame, a group of large primates surrounds the carcass of a lion. A first glance might suggest scavenging, common primate behavior. But within seconds, every biological assumption the viewer held begins to collapse. They are not feeding. They are using sharpened stone tools, working on the lion's body with organized, deliberate precision that analysts struggle to categorize. The movements follow a repeated, structured sequence, dissecting, separating layers, processing tissue, like a surgical procedure being executed from a shared memory. At the center of the group stands a noticeably larger individual. It is not participating. It is watching, supervising, commanding. When the surveillance camera is detected, the entire group freezes instantly. The large individual turns its head slowly, locks its gaze directly into the lens, holds it for several long, deliberate seconds. Then it walks forward, picks up a large leaf, and places it over the camera completely. That action is not instinct. That is the recognition of a monitoring device and a conscious decision to end the observation. Researchers labeled it counter-surveillance intelligence, but the internal analysis memo went further than any label. These creatures are not using tools. They are building a behavioral structure with every early hallmark of what in humans we would call the beginning of civilization. Let that land for a moment, and then ask yourself, if something like this is already happening in the Billy Forest, what else has been growing in the dark, completely unseen, while we were looking the other way?
In the collective memory of the communities living around the Jiwundu swamp, there is one sound no elder wants to describe out loud. A metallic scream that tore through the sky one night and broke every rule of nature in a single moment. In 2025, a humanitarian relief team accidentally captured that phenomenon on audio equipment during a rainy night at the edge of the swamp's black water. Before the sound came, something else arrived first. Absolute silence. No insects, no frogs, no movement in the water. A complete vacuum of biological noise, as if the swamp had drawn a breath and was holding it. Then, a shriek erupted from above the low cloud layer. Not animal, not mechanical, something in between. A fusion of tearing metal and a long, penetrating wail that seemed to bypass the ears and land directly inside the skull. When the team looked up, a massive, dark silhouette glided across the moonlit clouds. Wingspan over 16 feet, wider than a full-size pickup truck is long. But its movement was the thing that made no sense. It did not flap in any rhythm consistent with known biology. It slid through the air as if it were reprogramming the atmosphere's own lift mechanics, as if flight itself had different rules for whatever this thing was. Then audio analysts discovered something far worse than the visuals. Buried inside that chaotic scream were structured sound patterns, layered encoding, something resembling deliberately transmitting data. Sound specialists concluded this was not a distress call or a hunting cry. It was a signal sequence sent to someone or something listening from a distance. When searchlights hit the sky, the entity vanished instantly. Minutes later, every electronic device in the camp began to fail simultaneously, as if the thing above had finished cataloging their position, logged what it needed, and decided they had been seen enough. But the Jiwundu swamp was not the only place sending signals into the sky, because scattered across the war zones of the Congo, there are places that even armed soldiers refuse to enter, not because of bullets, because of something that turns the human mind off like a switch.
In the war-fractured zones barely appearing on any official map, there exists a phenomenon so disturbing that even armed military units refuse to enter. Not because of enemy forces, because of something else entirely. Leaked drone surveillance data from 2025 shows aircraft entering these regions and recording immediate anomalies. Forests inside the zones do not grow in natural patterns. They form perfect geometric spirals, as if an invisible intelligence is continuously redesigning the entire ecosystem from above. Beneath the canopy lie the remnants of old villages, but they are not decayed, they are not overgrown. They are being consumed by a faint blue glowing crystalline structure spreading slowly across walls, roads, tools, and building materials, converting everything it touches into a kind of living glass.
Survey teams that entered on foot reported something even more alarming than what cameras could capture. As they moved deeper into the region, something started happening to human cognition. Speech became impossible. Breathing felt heavier. A state described as forced silence, not external quiet, but an internal shutdown of language itself, settled over the team like a weighted fog. Survivors who escaped said they could not remember what they had seen, only the sensation of being watched by something with no form. They called it only the silence. Satellite data since then has confirmed the most terrifying detail. These ghost cities are not frozen in time, they are actively expanding. Their boundaries are growing outward year by year, consuming new ground. No one has mapped where they end, and no one who has gone in deep enough has come back able to tell us. But the Congo's horrors are not all invisible. Some of them showed up in broad daylight, in the middle of one of the most densely populated cities on the continent, without warning, without explanation, and they left something behind that still has not been explained.
Number 6. Kinshasa Black Pillar. In 2021, a metallic pillar appeared without warning in the middle of a densely populated slum in Kinshasa, the Congo's capital. No construction crew, no prior digging, no announcement. It was simply there one morning, several meters tall, its surface a flat matte black that did not reflect light, but seemed to consume it. There were no welds, no openings, no mechanical components of any kind. As crowds gathered, a spreading unease moved through the people near it, like the air was being pressurized. Some attempted to destroy it with fire. As temperatures rose, the pillar did not melt or deform. Instead, it began to produce sound. First, electrical static. Then, something far worse. Distorted screaming. Thousands of layered voices colliding at once, compressed into a single unbearable frequency. When technical teams finally arrived, analysis of the material produced a result that stopped the investigation cold. The interior of the structure resembled neural tissue. Not metal, as any engineer would define it, but a rigidly encased living memory system. Leaked military reports confirmed that at specific heat thresholds, the pillar transmitted signals. Those signals carried an ancient linguistic structure, traced back to the Congo region by historical linguists. A language pattern believed to have vanished centuries ago. The final, most disturbing event happened at demolition. When the pillar was destroyed, it released a powerful electromagnetic pulse that shut down every recording device in the area simultaneously. When equipment came back online, the pillar was gone, but the sound was still there. A single recovered audio file captured whispered repetitions of a phrase no linguist could fully translate, as if a system deep underground was in the middle of uploading data, and the upload had been interrupted, but not canceled. Because that same night, in the forests north of Kinshasa, something else was waiting at the edge of a research camp. Something that looked almost familiar. Something with the shape of an animal, but with no eyes, and footprints that by morning had become something else entirely.
Number 5. White Okapi. The okapi, the Congo's elusive forest giraffe, has always been considered one of the most secretive animals on Earth. It avoids humans, avoids light, and avoids every form of detection it can manage. But reports from the Uweli region in the past 2 years have documented something with the shape of an okapi and the behavior of something that has never been classified. Locals call it the white okapi, or the striped phantom. Unlike its reclusive relatives, this entity approaches human spaces at night. It stands motionless at the edge of research camps and abandoned villages, and it stays there. Not feeding, not fleeing, just standing, like a misplaced object someone forgot to remove from the landscape.
Its coat is not the familiar warm brown of a normal okapi. It is pale white, bone-stripped, like skin stretched over hollow space. Zoomed camera footage suggests its body lacks depth, as if a three-dimensional form has been replaced by a flat projection. But the sound is what unravels the observer. From within its body comes a steady, rhythmic vibration. Not animal noise, but something structured. Something that carries, as multiple independent researchers have noted, the unmistakable architecture of intentional language. Not random vibration, a pattern that behaves like a signal. In one leaked recording, the entity stands motionless for 17 unbroken minutes. Then it turns its head directly toward the camera. There are no visible eyes, and yet the entire body radiates a single overwhelming impression. It is watching the lens. Seconds later, signal distortion. When the image returns, it is gone. Only prints remain. Hoof prints at first. Then, deeper into the forest, they slowly deform into the shape of human bare feet. And then they stop, as if whatever left them simply ceased to exist at that point in the jungle. But something else in the Congo does not stop. Something in the river. Something that has been sitting at the bottom of the deepest water on Earth. And when scientists finally sent a machine down to look at it, it looked back.
The Congo River is the deepest river on Earth. In certain stretches, it plunges beyond 720 feet. To feel what that means, imagine stacking two full Statues of Liberty on top of each other and submerging the whole thing. The tip would still not reach the bottom. Most military submarines are not rated to operate at that depth. But data from a 2023 autonomous submersible mission near the Inga Falls region revealed something down there that redefined what the team thought they were studying. The mission was routine at first: extreme pressure, violent currents, complex terrain. Then the submersible entered the deepest zone, and the sonar system picked up a signal unlike anything in the dataset. A steady oscillation, not from a single organism, but from the entire riverbed simultaneously. Think of pressing your ear to the wall of a building and feeling the whole structure breathe in a single slow rhythm. That is what the instruments recorded. The signal traveled through the metal hull as a physical vibration. Crew aboard the surface vessel described the sensation as the river breathing beneath them. When floodlights activated, the footage sent back to the monitors caused the entire survey team to go completely silent. The bottom of the river was not rock. It was not sediment. It was a massive living layer spanning hundreds of yards, glowing faintly like a bioluminescent carpet across an entire football stadium floor. Its surface shifted color continuously, cycling from murky brown to deep violet, as if reacting to the presence of the vessel above. Then it did something no living system should be able to do. The mass began to rise. Slowly, methodically, it reconstructed the exact shape of the submersible using its own bioluminescent biomass, hull dimensions, structural proportions, external components, down to a level of detail that required comprehension of three-dimensional mechanical form. It was not reacting to an intruder, it was studying one, memorizing the observer, learning how to become it. And that detail connects directly to what happened in the Kasai Valley, because something up there, on the surface, was doing the exact same thing: hiding, learning, waiting.
For over a century, Kasai Rex existed only as a dismissed colonial legend, a massive predatory creature reported by soldiers and rubber plantation workers during the brutal occupation of the Congo. Scientists filed it under mass hallucination and jungle fever, and that was the end of the conversation. Until 2025, when a fragment of infrared thermal data leaked from the drone surveillance system of a private mining corporation operating inside the Kasai Rainforest Valley. In the frame, a herd of forest elephants moves slowly through a flooded stretch of lowland terrain. Then, the thermal sensor detects a massive heat signature rising behind the tree line. It is standing on two legs. Its estimated height at the hip is nearly 13 feet, roughly the height of a two-story building stacked with a full-grown man standing on top. Its body mass does not create the heavy, lumbering movement you would expect. Motion analysts described its gait as controlled and intentional, carrying none of the reactive instinct of a typical apex predator. But the truly inexplicable detail is what it does next. The entity exploits natural ground heat currents to actively mask its own thermal signature, as if it understands the technology observing it and knows precisely how to disappear from it. When it accelerates, the drone tracking algorithm collapses. The frame breaks into unsynchronized data fragments. In a matter of seconds, the entity moves at an estimated 37 miles per hour, faster than a thoroughbred racehorse at full sprint, cutting directly through the elephant herd without triggering any prior alarm response from the animals, as if the elephants never even registered it was there. And then the data file ends with one automated alert: tracking failure, target beyond biological parameters. Whatever this thing was, it was gone, moving towards something. And in 1959, a soldier once watched something enormous trace an impossible straight line across the entire Katanga region. For 65 years, no one believed him. Then a satellite proved him right.
Titan Katanga. In 1959, a colonial-era military officer named Colonel Van Leerd filed an official report documenting a 50-foot serpentine creature flying over the Katanga region. The report was shelved, dismissed, and eventually buried in archives no one revisited. For 65 years, it sat there. Then, in 2025, a classified low-orbit satellite image pulled the file back open, and what the image contained did not match the colonial description. It exceeded it. In the high-resolution frame, a massive black streak cuts across the Congo forest canopy, like something dragged a blade through it. Not a road, not a dry riverbed, the trace of something actively moving through the landscape at speed. At the leading edge of that trail, analysis software confirmed a coiled structure far beyond any reptilian biology ever documented, estimated at approximately 90 feet in length. To put that in perspective, that is longer than 3 full-size city buses placed end to end. But its size is not the detail that silenced the analysts, it was the trajectory. This entity does not move like any known serpent. It advances in a perfectly straight line, cutting through mountains, rivers, and dense jungle without any deviation. Not following terrain, not responding to obstacles, moving as if following a fixed invisible map that exists independent of the physical landscape. In some frames, its body vanishes inside the forest canopy, then reappears miles ahead, as if the space between 2 points has simply been skipped. Analysts named it Titan Katanga. In encrypted internal files, however, it carries a different designation, object not classified as life form. And when the satellite map zooms out to full regional scale, its trajectory becomes the most alarming detail of all. It is moving in a straight line directly towards a populated human settlement. Titan Katanga is moving towards people. But everything in this countdown, the entities, the primates, the phantom signals, the swamp that defends itself, the creature that hides from satellites, they are all individual threats. And there is one thing at the bottom of the deepest water on Earth that may be the system every single one of them is connected to.
Number 1. Congo River living biomass. Everything in this countdown has been a thread. This is the loom they are all attached to. Deep beneath the surface of the Congo River, in a zone of absolute darkness that has not seen sunlight in over 2 million years, something exists that does not fit inside any category biology has ever created. The 2023 autonomous submersible mission documented it first. A living layer covering the entire riverbed for hundreds of yards in every direction. Not coral, not bacterial mat, something with no known equivalent. It glows. It shifts color in direct response to observation. It changes its own physical structure in real time. But the detail that places this beyond every other discovery in the Congo is what it did when it detected the submersible. It rose. Slowly and methodically, using its own bioluminescent mass, it reconstructed the exact shape of the craft, whole dimensions, structural proportions, external components, down to a level of detail that required comprehension of 3-dimensional geometry and mechanical form.
It was not reacting to an intruder the way an immune system does. It was studying one, absorbing the design, practicing how to replicate what it saw. Sonar data from Project Nyx Water, the buried file that started all of this, contains a single handwritten note in the margin that the leak included. It reads, "It has been doing this for longer than we have existed." The Congo River is the deepest river on Earth. At the bottom of it, in permanent darkness, something has been watching everything that falls in for millions of years, collecting information, studying shapes, learning forms, learning us. And the only question that matters now, the one no government, no scientist, no intelligence agency has been willing to answer out loud, is this: at what point does something that has spent millions of years studying humanity decide that it has learned enough?
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.